Okay, well, let's talk about those Twins, shall we? Twins lose another one, their second in a row. Show some serious kinks in the armor here. A lot to discuss here, Reggie. Let's start with the good. Another just solid as a rock starting pitching performance. This time from Devin Smeltzer, who's looked good. Back-to-back outings filling in for Joe Ryan on the COVID list. He goes
Mm-hmm.
7 innings, doesn't allow a run, strikes out 6. That's the good news. But Reggie, there's this thing in baseball where you got to play 9 innings apparently.
Oh
So,
yeah.
and that's when the wheels fell off last night. Tyler Duffy comes in the eighth, allows a quick 3 runs. All of a sudden, after leading the whole game, you're down 3-2. But no worries, Twins rally back, get the bases juiced, no outs, and for the second time in a row and third time in the last week, managed to get no runs and squander a huge opportunity with the bases loaded and no outs. They had another chance in the ninth, runners on the corners, couldn't capitalize. Twins leave 5 base runners stranded in the last 2 innings alone, managed 0 runs. Twins lose this one 3-2, a game you probably look back on and say they easily should have won. They dropped 2 in a row, their first of 4-game series with the Royals. Reggie, you got to blame someone after a loss like this. Was it the coaching in the late innings? Was it just bad plate appearances with runners in scoring positions late, relief pitching? Your thoughts and takeaways from last night's just tough loss.
Man, it's been a while since we've had to place blame. Tyler Duffy.
Mm-hmm.
Man, he's a roller coaster, man. He's an experience. Like Smeltzer, man. 7 innings. It's crazy that Rocco even let him go that long, but he goes 7 innings, 80 pitches, only 80 pitches. How efficient is that? Two hits, only 2 hits given up, 6K. He leaves with a nice little 2-0 cushion. And then Duffy comes on in the eighth and just is like, you know what? Here you go. Here's a run. Here's another. Oh, here's the go-ahead run. And then they can't do anything to capitalize on it. And what I think is kind of interesting with what's going on with the Twins is the bats. Like they'll do something early, like, and really not anything that is just like overly done, like they had chances to score more than just those 2 runs for Devin Smeltzer, but they only get those 2. But you're like, you know what? You get 2 runs, he gives up none, he goes out of the game. Let's just hold him off and let's win this thing against a team that we should be beating. That's the mindset if you're the Twins. And then all of a sudden, you just give up those 3 runs, and it's a disaster, and you lose to this team that you just swept last weekend. Like you just swept them. They are sweepable. And now you got to put the broom back in the closet with the dustpan. Make sure you get everything off the dustpan because, sometimes it's a little touch and go, And it's just unfortunate, man, that these are games that we talked about ad nauseum. They have to win these games. You don't necessarily expect a sweep all the time, but now you're talking like, look, that's a 2-game losing streak. Now you're talking about a possible slump against 2 of the worst teams in baseball. Like, no, you gotta find a way to climb out of this thing and bounce back, score some more runs. The bats need to wake up a little bit and really help this pitching unit. Like, it's crazy coming into the season, and we keep saying it, but it's true. Coming into the season, the pitching unit was supposed to be probably the weakness for this team, and the bats were supposed to be what was going to carry this team to success. And here we have it in the last week or so. You got the pitching unit really kind of, I don't know if you want to call it overachieving, but they're kind of carrying the team a little bit, and now the bats can't necessarily keep up when it was like at one point over the last week and a half, they were scoring 8 runs a game. And so look, this is the ebb and flow of a baseball season. So I don't want to be too overly critical, but these are games that they have to win, and they're just squandering them right now.
I think it was the very first week of the season, the first week of our show, actually. I sat here and I said, look, Twins pitching's going to struggle, as we know. These bats should be on fire, though. Smash the overs in all these games. And you see it, every third or fourth game for the Twins, it's 12 runs, 8 runs, 14
Mm-hmm.
last week against the A's. We said this yesterday. As long as they're winning, it's easy to play the wait and see game with Royce Lewis as he continues to rip it up in AAA. But as soon as they
Mm-hmm.
start losing, watch out. Fans are going to be banging the table to get him in the lineup. It's clear because this team just needs some sort of spark. And the way Royce is playing, not to mention the long-term plans you have with him anyways, it's silly to
Mm-hmm.
think he won't be called back up here sooner than later, in my opinion, and see if he can't give this team a little juice and spark that they desperately need right now. But you said it, complete polar opposite of the identity that we thought this Twins team would be. Right now, it's the pitching staff carrying this team while the bats continue just to look just chilly, just ice cold. They're failing to
Pedestrian.
put it all together. They're getting opportunities, but not capitalizing. And I don't know if it's an order thing. We mentioned, hey, Rocco, this is the time during the soft part of the schedule to goof around with the lineup a little bit, trial and error. But right now, Reggie, it's just not working. And if you squander this opportunity here with the soft part of the schedule, then you're really looking to be in some serious trouble when you start playing the Yankees, Blue Jays, Rays, teams like that. And all of a sudden, the White Sox, the Guardians, they start to heat up as well as they're playing some tough teams right now. So we'll see how it all shakes out. ESPN, by the way, released an article a few days ago on some of the most disappointing teams thus far, and even mentioned a few specific players: Atlanta Braves, Seattle Mariners, Cody Bellinger, et cetera, et cetera. The Twins weren't on the list in any way, shape, or form here, but it got me thinking, Reggie, what has been the most disappointing piece or player for the Twins thus far through these first 8 weeks, in your opinion? Again, we just talked about the bats are ice cold, but is it something more specific than that?
Oh, I hate to pick on the guy, you know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the most disappointing guys for the Twins is Tyler Duffy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like especially because he's a guy that they have been relying on quite a bit,
Yeah, he's been
and
around.
he hasn't had some of those bad performances as of late.
Mm-hmm.
But when you talk about some of the blown leads that have happened by the bullpen, he's kind of been the guy that is behind them. And it's tough because you don't want to pick on him. But, there were fans in my mentions, talking about how, maybe he should get designated for assignment. And it's just like, well, who else are you going to call on?
Mm-hmm.
Ghostbusters? Like, you can't. I mean, you kind of have to go with it until you can get
Get
some
Bill
more
Murray
depth.
warming up. Get Dan
Yeah,
Aykroyd warming up in the pen, will you?
yeah, man. Like you just kind of have to go with it. You know what I mean? Because I don't know. I don't know if you have any other recourse. That they're just gonna have to continue to keep working with them. But in these high leverage situations, bringing Tyler Duffy in, you've got some clenched butt cheeks.
Oh
You're
yeah.
a little tight. You're trying to hold in the poot. You know what I mean? Because it's an experience, man. You're kind of scared, man. Heart's racing a little bit, blood pressure's up. You're just like, oh my goodness, like your forehead sweating a little bit
Mm,
because he's gonna bring you through it. You got that stomach drop like you're on that roller
mm,
coaster when he comes in.
mm.
But hopefully you can see him stabilize things moving forward. But right now it's kind of touch and go with Tyler Duffy.
Very beautifully articulated. It's tough when they're winning, not to sound like you're getting nitpicky, but I think even despite the wins, it was clear going into the season, serious trouble with the starting rotation. And then in turn, their relievers with all these injuries. It's the injuries. And it's easy to call out injuries being disappointing because it's almost too simple and so obvious. But I feel like after losing Kenta Maeda early on, then Paddock was a huge blow. And now Joe Ryan for we'll see how long. Not to mention some other starters have been dinged up here or there as well. It's just really
Hmm.
tough to overcome those in a rotation that was going to be hard pressed to find a solid 1, 2, 3 starting rotation consistently in the heart of the
Hmm.
season. Saying all that, they've overperformed to the max. They've been awesome, but how long can they keep it up and take some pressure again off some of these relievers like Duffy remains to be seen. Twins look to get their winning streak going again today in the second of 4 against the Royals. 7:10 first pitch set at Target Field. Bailey Ober set to hit the mound. Remember, as tough as that loss was yesterday, KC had lost 6 in a row. White Sox lost yesterday, and the Guardians lost 3 straight as well. So while you hate to see a loss like that, Twins still in the driver's seat currently as it stands in
Yeah.
that division.